Okay, about 1 year ago, the world learned about ChatGPT for the most part. It is currently June 2026, and I would argue that anywhere between June 2025 and June 2024, tools like ChatGPT were fringe products, just sort of making their way into the world and becoming something that every consultant or every business owner could have in their tool belt. And so today what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about my journey with ChatGPT, why I used the free version, then I went to the paid version, then I went back to the free version. I'm going to explain a couple of things that might create headaches for you, and you might leave your computer scratching your head wanting to throw your laptop out the window because like, why is this happening to me? Which, again, those are struggles that I had with using the system, because a lot of these tools, you're on your own to figure them out. So let's just jump in, and I'm going to walk you through a little bit of my ChatGPT right now. So once you create an account, and it's very simple, you'll just, if you haven't created an account already, in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see login or sign up for an account. Hit the sign up. It's going to ask you for an email address. Put in your valid email address. It's going to send you a code to your valid email, and then you respond with that code, and now you've got a living, breathing account for free inside of ChatGPT. Now, here are some things that you want to think about and remember when you're using ChatGPT. The first thing is you have on the top left-hand side here, you've got something called New Chats, and then you've got something called Searches, and then you've got something called your Library, Projects, Apps, Codex, and then more. Here's where I live. I live in New Chats, and I live with Search Chats. Now, down here on the bottom left are all my recent chats, and you can see that I've got, I use this all the time. I predominantly use ChatGPT for helping me think through legal risks. So for example, I will just simply drop and drag a document into the chat window and say, read this document and tell me what legal risks do I currently face living in Ontario, Canada with this proposal in this legal document. That saves me from having to go and pay for a lawyer. Now, I'm never going to say don't have a lawyer read your documents for you, but I will tell you that the last company that I worked for was a health and safety company, and the software company was owned by a couple of consultants in that industry, and one of them was a paralegal. And when I remember being in the office when ChatGPT came out, and Paul was sitting there at his desk, and Bernie was standing beside him, and they were just like all over the laptop going, what the hell is this? And I walked over and said, what are you guys looking at? And they went, this ChatGPT thing is something else. They said, I just typed in, a worst case scenario for an injury, and it spit out a complete report based on uploading 2 photographs of the injured person, the work site, and it gave a full report, something that it would have taken Paul hours to build it in a previous world. And they were dumbfounded. He said, I've just gone through this and there's factually nothing wrong with this. As a matter of fact, if I say to it, hey, give me code 15 ABC out of the Green Book and cite how that impacts this picture, it spits it out. Like, it's pretty incredible what ChatGPT can do. It was once explained to me that why would you not have a tool that has access to every website, everything that's ever been published on the internet, and be able to look up things that you didn't know existed. Like, to me, that's really, really powerful. And I think, again, being a lifetime learner, you want to always open your mind up to, hey, if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in trouble. I need to be able to find somebody smarter than me. And in this case, the AI tools can be that person for you. Now, what I always do is I go on to and I start a new chat. And I might say, hey, I'm writing an email today. Actually, let's not do this. Let's take a step back. When I first started in ChatGPT and with Claude, which we'll get to later, I created something called a master prompt. Now, if I go onto my account, and you can see I'm on the free account still, or I'll go to personalization. In personalization, you have an opportunity to create a personality for ChatGPT and how you want it to interact with you. Now, here's the funny thing. I had the paid account, so I had already submitted a master prompt. And I put all those details in about how I wanted ChatGPT to interact with me, how I always didn't want it to be complimentary. I wanted it to challenge my assumptions, challenge my ideas, push me so that I learn. And so when I get feedback now from the questions that I type in, It always challenges those questions. It doesn't say, hey, Dave, you're a genius. That's the smartest thing I've ever seen, which, out of the box, that is what ChatGPT is designed to do. It's designed to make you feel good about yourself. And that gives you a dopamine spike, and that causes a bit of an addiction. And you go, oh God, I love ChatGPT. This is the best thing in the world. It thinks I'm a genius. Okay, that's not always best for getting the best answers. So, in the past, when you set up your brand new account, there are opportunities for you to go into personalize your account and drop in how you want, what does it want to know about you? So now it's got this about you, what's your nickname, what's your occupation, more about you. In this box right here, this is where you're going to type in everything you can possibly think of about you and your skills so that it knows what you're really good at. And then more importantly, type in what you're not good at, what you don't know, where you need help. And then it's going to come back and act as an advisor in those capacities. Now, what I did and why mine is blank is because I had a paid version of ChatGPT, and when I went from paid back to free, it held on to my account, it held on to all those conversations, but it's locked me out of the ability to personalize my account again. So if you're just getting started, what you're probably going to see, if you see a different screen than this, you'll have the opportunity to put in those master prompts about you, your strengths and your weaknesses. If it doesn't, fill in this information, tell them what your occupation is, tell them you're a consultant and what the industry is that you're in. You can tell it more about you and again, all your experiences. You can jump into the advanced here and you can give it a voice. So for example, if you wanted to talk to it through the mic on your ChatGPT, it's going to come back with a certain tone and personality to you. You can set all that up inside of here. But here's what I've learned. If you're like me and you have gone into ChatGPT before and you've had a conversation, but it didn't remember what you were talking about, I want you to focus on this little toggle switch right here under Reference Saved Memories, Reference Chat History. Make sure these two are both turned on, because now in ChatGPT, you don't necessarily have to come in and create this personalization. So long as those two boxes are checked, all you have to do is type all that information into the first chat and say, hey, this is who I am. These are my strengths. These are my weaknesses. This is the market that I'm trying to do. I need a business plan for the next year, the next 12 months to get me from 0 clients to 10 clients. What do I need to do? What does success look like? You can just type all those questions in. It's going to turn around and it's going to spit out for you information about what you just asked for, but it's also going to give you information based on what that first chat said about you. If you don't do that step, it's going to give you random information. So, if I asked it a question right now about marketing, it's going to push back on me and say, hey, this looks like it's not inside the wheelhouse of the clients you're trying to work with. Why are you going down that road? Why are you veering? Stay focused on the plan. And then, what I often do is I have a rebuttal. This is about not arguing with ChatGPT, but it's saying, hey, this is what I'm thinking. It pushes back on me. I push back on it until we find a really common ground for the information that we're looking for. So I tend to use ChatGPT. So I'm going to throw in just from a pure sales perspective, you might use this and say, hey, and for me, one of my verticals for business are HVAC clients. Those are some of the companies that I consult. So here's what I would do is say, I'm cold calling out to the HVAC industry in Toronto today. Please give me a cold call script. And let's see what it gives me. So it tells me, Dave, because you're calling HVAC owners, your biggest advantage is that you actually understand their day-to-day pain. They're in a truck, they miss calls. Now, let's qualify that. It knows I understand their day-to-day pain because I inadvertently have been around this industry for a good portion of my career, either actively in it or working with companies inside the industry, or I've got 2 cousins who are both HVAC guys. So And so here's what it's doing. It's giving you a script and it's saying, hey, here's the first script. And it gives you the tone, it gives you what you're asking about. So the first thing is it's going to tell you, hey, hi, is this ABC heating and air conditioning? Why are you doing that? That's called pattern interrupt. So it's going to give you a nice pattern interrupt, which gets them to say yes, because the more they say yes, the more open their mind becomes to having a conversation with you. Oh, great. Is this Jim the owner? Yes, I'm the owner. Cool. So you knew their name calling before you called. You knew the name of the company. You just confirmed that with them. They just said yes to you twice. Great. So here's what I'm trying to call about. This is what they might response. And then you just transition to a meeting. So this is a very sort of an in-depth script that you could use. Here's more shorter and direct. And then here's more lost revenue. So you could come in and say, hey, here's the pain point that my clients have. And I would put that into the very original prompt that you put in, that master prompt in that first chat. Remember, those prompts or those setup dials aren't as important now. The preferences, they're not as important as just making sure you've got the history tabs turned on, because now when you type in things into the chat, it's going to remember the context of all your chats. And down here under recents, well, this is all the recent chats that I've had in the last couple of months. Now, if I can't find what I'm looking for, all I have to do is click search chats. And here's what I often do. I often will put in a client name when I'm creating out a specific chat for that client, so that when I search, and I'll just use a client here, Fairweather. That's a brewery I work with. And right there you can see there are existing chats that I've had with ChatGPT and Fairweather to complete some projects. Now, here's the thing you want to remember about a chat and using any AI tool. Every time you respond to that chat, every time you ask another question, the chat gets longer and longer and longer and longer. The longer it gets, every time you respond, it doesn't continue to think linearly. It goes right back to the beginning of every conversation and reads everything again, which consumes a ton of resources and tokens as it reads through everything. And you're seeing it in real time, but you're not understanding what's happening. And then I learned, big lesson here. I learned that the longer the chat got, the slower the responses took. And then even if you're on the free plan, you might hit the limit in that particular chat of how many tokens you can use or how many questions you can ask it in the free program. Even in the paid program, what happened was I wasn't hitting a limitation. It was lagging. It was taking so long to answer questions. So a good practice is have an initial conversation. So, I had an initial conversation with ChatGPT about what I was doing at Fairweather. We built an asset together that we could then take and put into this high-level CRM CSV update tool. So now when I jump into this particular chat, it's going to take me every time to the conversation. There is no more conversation around this. It is, here's the 2 new files. Can you combine the 2 and provide me with a 3rd file to upload into their high-level CRM? That's the prompt I use every time. And here's the 2 new files. So once a week I come in here and say, here's the 2 new files. Eventually, I will start a new thread when this gets long enough, because this will kind of be version 1. But again, the longer the thread becomes, the longer it takes for ChatGPT to respond to it. So a best practice is, once you've created an artifact or you've created a tool or a solution, use the first chat as the sounding board to create the solution, and then say, hey, this chat has gotten very long. I want to start a new thread, and I want to start with this exact starting point and this exact tool that you've just created for me to help us move forward now with the client. Give me something I can copy and paste as a new prompt to start a new conversation. Now, when you do that, it opens up a new chat. Things stay quick. You may not use up all your tokens as a free account user. Life is good. So that's just a little bit of a hack that I would suggest that you use when you're setting up chats. If you're finding that the chat's getting too long, you're talking about 4 or 5 different topics, forget that. Just try to stick to one topic. Try to keep the topic clear. And when you've kind of come to a resolution and maybe it's built a tool or an artifact for you, say, hey, I'm going to start a new chat. give me the prompt that I need to type in so I can just copy and paste it into the next new chat so that we start exactly where we left off. So when it comes to ChatGPT and when it comes to using that particular tool, I used it and I still use it every day. I use it to work back and forth with Claude. I use it to do a lot of reasoning and to review documents. And again, if I hired 2 lawyers to work with me, I would ask both of them to review a document if it didn't cost me anything more. In this case, I've got 2 very, very smart tools that can do risk management assessments for me and point out the top 3 things that I should be paying attention to in this contract, or create a contract for me, and this is what I want to leverage, and this is how I want it to be in my favor. It'll create that. Now, you may need to take that to your lawyer to get it officially, not notarized, but don't ever, I personally would not rely on ChatGPT or Claude as the definitive answer. I would always kind of look for a lawyer to give me their input on the document. But again, that's all part of risk management. And if it's a low risk item, I'm going to use ChatGPT and Claude. If it's a high risk, I'm going to have a lawyer review that document. But at least I can go in with confidence knowing that I know pretty much everything about this. And I'm just having the lawyer say, hey, here's the points that I'm concerned about. Are you concerned about these 2? Is this good? That's a lot better than the lawyer coming in and you going, I don't know how to read a legal document and I don't know what's good and bad. And this gives you ammunition to come into the room better prepared, because the more better prepared you are, the more things are going to work out in your favor. So that was a little bit about ChatGPT. I don't use ChatGPT to create images. However, my wife does. She creates all kinds of images from a photograph of our daughter's dog that she created a scrapbook for, and we'll be giving to her one day. And I think it's pretty cool. She uses it for some artistic value, and to me that's cute, but that's not business. And I will tell you that I find that Claude gives me much better client-facing documents than I get from ChatGPT. ChatGPT will tell me, if you want to create that document, here's what you should do, and go into Canva and build it there and then move it over here. And I don't want instructions, I want the document. So the next video we're going to jump into is going to be Claude. We're going to talk about that. So I went from free to paid, back to free, found out why I couldn't find any of the customizations. They already still exist. I just can't access them anymore. But if you're new to ChatGPT, even if you're not new to ChatGPT and you've got your existing account, go into a chat right now and just give it a master prompt. Tell it everything about you and your business goals and say, this is what I'm focused on over the next 12 months. Help me with this. And it will come back and it will start acting as your advisor, which is super, super helpful, especially as you're looking at different verticals for your consulting business and you're trying to validate whether those verticals are going to be worth your time and effort. That is one of the biggest time savers that I've used with ChatGPT and Claude, is just paying attention to these different verticals as I see them, and how do I validate them? How do I qualify the clients inside of those verticals, even if they are interested, are they the right kind of client to be working with? These are all questions that you're going to have to go through and answer. So don't do it alone. Do it with a tool that you can build for yourself for free. And if you want to get into the paid version, I think I'm only paying $30 a month for Claude right now. I can't recall. I'll look at that before I jump into the next video. So if you have any questions, please consider leaving those in the comments below. If you would like to be part of our community, consider subscribing. And I'll have a link in the bottom description here of all the tools that I use, should you want to use any of those tools for yourself. Thanks everybody, have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video, and that's going to be about Claude.